she could make more money doing this than clocking in and clocking out.
You probably broke the trajectory of your family.
The game is on you. 100% on what you want to do. Multiple $1 million to zero in a couple of months.
I'm Justin Tumanowski. This is Creative Real Estate. Hey guys, welcome to the Get Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Tumanowski. We're here to break down the world of creative finance, and in this podcast, I have a lovely Subto member, Jose De Leon. We are here to dive into his deal and dive into the world of real estate investing, innovative strategies, and success stories from leaders like himself. Guys, click the links below, check out, see what aligns with you. There's a few good little takeaways in here where we go into adversity early on, mindset. We're going to talk about how to delay gratification to make sure that, everyone gets paid, but also there is success at the end of the day. Jose, please tell everyone where you're from. Give us a little bit of the backstory, bro.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the intro. So my name's Jose. I'm from Orlando, Florida, originally born up in New Jersey. The reason I got into real estate, honestly, was by accident. I was the kid in the passenger seat of my mom's vehicle. She's been in traditional real estate since the mid-90s. So I was the kid that was printing out the MapQuests and making sure that she was being as efficient as possible so she could get back home and make me some food. That was the real ticker. And it's funny because I grew up in a better neighborhood than the rest of my family. I would say more like rural suburb area. My family always looked at, like, my cousins, my uncles are always like, you're the spoiled kid out in that town. But yeah, my parents just wanted to really provide the best education for me, the best area for me, and lay the ground really from the beginning, from when I was a kid. So I was able to just, make friends with the mayor's son. I was friends with the chief of police and little things like that, where you just grow up in soccer clubs and going to all these houses and meeting a ton of people. My parents, through the school, through my friendships, my parents were able to get connected with a lot of people that were higher up in the neighborhood.
I didn't know that. Would you say that that's actually very much a pivotal thing right now? Let's say that you were rubbing elbows and playing, soccer or whatever it would be with the mayor's son or the chief of police's son. But at the end of the day, it really is surrounding yourself with higher level people, right? And would you find that so dang interesting nowadays, where you don't have to be fake about it, but it is getting in the right rooms and around the right people?
You don't need the education either. Just get around the right people.
Oh, so good. Carry on, bro.
But yeah, that really kicked off my life. Honestly, it was a great area to be in. And my mom really kicked off with all the relationships, and she's like, hey, I should just do real estate. I already know all these people. I could get them connected with the right house. I think I could do this. So yeah, I got introduced to that. Fast forward a little bit, 9/11 happens, and my parents are just like, let's sell the house. They already renovated the property. Let's get out of here. We'll take the money and run. And let's go to Florida. We'll go closer to family, where it's a little bit safer and much more affordable. Property taxes in Jersey, just because they're high now doesn't mean they weren't high before. They were still high, super high back then. We get to Florida. My mom decides to open up a real estate office. I'm still in high school, so she's like, hey, help me out. I'm super busy. They opened a Century 21 franchise in my sophomore year of high school, helping out, doing paperwork here and there, typing up contracts. I guess my first couple years in real estate was 17, 18, 19 years old. It was a rude awakening at the very beginning when I came into the business thinking that because I'm coming in through my parents, that I'm going to have the red carpet laid out for me. But just like all the other traditional real estate agents, that they come into a brokerage offices and they think they're going to get all the leads in the world and they're good to go because they joined the right office. The game is on you, 100% on what you want to do. So I came in thinking that same mentality, and I was left in the dark. My mom is too busy to help me out. She's like, hey, if you help me out on these deals, you'll get experience. But if you want your own clients, good luck. Go get them.
Yeah.
It's on you. And I was like, okay, well, damn. So I went to go get my own client. I did very, very well the first year. By the time I was like 19, I was hitting six figures really fast. It also had to do with the economy. Great economy back then. Things were really flying off the shelf. Everybody could get for a loan, even dogs.
Yeah,
So,
ninja loans, right?
yeah,
No income, no job. Now, paint the picture for the audience real quick. We're talking what, 2005, 6?
05 to 07.
Yeah. Okay, great.
07, things really kick off where things go wrong. And all of these loans, they're just going bad. Everything's adjusting. So it's time to pay up or get rid of your house, and nobody's buying these properties because the loans are adjusting and prices are sky high. We went from doing very, very well, multiple $1 million to zero in a couple of months. So it was a super rude awakening. At that time, I was still living with my parents, saving up and things like that. I looked to them for guidance on where to pivot. Where are we going? What are we doing? Even my parents were just like, yeah, I could see the shock in their face. They're out of it. So I have to take it in my hands to figure out how to resolve everything while they try and handle what they can with the office and what they've already built. I move out on my own. I'm about to turn 19 at this time. I start working for an AT&T call center, so I get a really good experience on the phones. I get to be whoever I want to be on the phones. Nobody's looking at you, so you get to just have fun. I did very well in that, and I saved up enough money about a year and a half, 2 years after, to come back to my parents and be like, "Hey, mom, dad, let's kick this thing off again. Let's get back into the real estate game. I know it was rough, and I know things were tough and can be tough, but let's start this thing back up because we could come in at a really good opportunity where things are starting to go climb." Terrified,
Mm.
too much fear, couldn't get over it, and I had to go and join another brokerage, one of those random $350 per transaction, do it on your own type of thing. So I did. At that time, leads are not the greatest. Everybody's in foreclosure, and I'm like, okay, so the traditional way is not going to work. Let me switch over to who's actually making the money. And that was the banks. Banks are evicting people left and right. And I'm like, let me learn the business from the inside out. So I go and apply to Aquin Loan Servicing. I go to apply to a couple of different financial departments countrywide, and I start getting something called BPOs. As a licensed agent, you can do a mini appraisal sort of thing for the banks. I don't know if you want to, should I go deep into that? Or?
Let's just go surface level, go in a little bit of the terminology, what it's for. And then like, I would assume you probably got a flat fee for doing that service for those too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each one of those files, I'd get about 75 to $100 just to
So
check.
what is a BPO?
Yeah, it is. BPO is a broker price opinion, and it's basically the bank asking me to go check on the property that they need to foreclose on to see if they have to do an eviction, to see if the property is already vacant. At that time, people were just running from the houses and leaving stoves and mail on, just like in The Big Short, the movie. I had to live through all that. Here in Florida was especially bad. I had about anywhere between 10 and 12 properties a day that were coming in. It was quite a hefty load.
And how much were you getting per file?
But between 75 and $100.
That's really good.
Yeah. It got to the point where I was inundated and I had to bring my mom in. I'm like, hey, mom, you can do this without a license. Dad, you come and take pictures with me. You don't need a license for this. I'm going to teach you how to take pictures of these properties left and right.
So you eased them back in.
He eased them back in through that without having to have a license or liability. I just took that off.
We are fed, and not on purpose, right? A certain type of mentality and a certain mindset. It comes up through our family, and you ended up breaking. The mindset was they were so terrified to get back into this business and into this game that it took the sun a little bit more with some extra, I was going to use a different word, but I was going to say with some huevos.
Yeah,
some
cojones.
cojones, hold their hand and say, let's go back in. Let's do the thing. And you probably broke the trajectory of your family.
Yeah, maybe. But I just knew there was no other way because at that time, my mom was driving an hour and a half just to work at Chase. She was one of the underwriters for the department with the foreclosure loans coming in. But she was the 9 to 5. That drive back and forth every single day, it wrecked her. And I didn't want to see her going through that stuff. And I knew she could make more money doing this than clocking in and clocking out. So just brought the opportunity up. And we did very well for a couple of years just on those reports. But man, did we lose our minds on that because it was just one after the other. And it started becoming like just numbers. We started losing feeling. I was going into these properties and it was just like, I completely forgot what it first felt like to feel what it was like to have that family had just ran out of the property.
The empathy.
I was losing it and I noticed it and I was just like, whoa, this is becoming a numbers game to me. I don't like this. How can I help the people that I came in originally to help? Because I just wanted to like learn the game from the inside out. The money kind of blinds you a little bit, be completely honest. And yeah, I decided to grab these leads that the banks were putting out and giving us the orders. With these orders that were coming in, I decided to with a couple of cash investors that were buying foreclosed properties. And what we did was a similar strategy as cash for keys. We would give the homeowners some cash and take over the property or pay off their loans and then go and flip it or just pay it off completely in cash before the bank would take it.
To interrupt you, you were going after and doing again what we're all sort of doing, some of us are doing is, saving pre-foreclosures. But you were looking at it on a scale of, were you using creative finance at the time or were you doing it with cash? Well, how was that approach?
The 10,000, the cash for keys that they were giving out, we did that a couple of times. It wasn't the main strategy. It was when we absolutely needed to give them some sort of incentive for them to move. It was either list a property, something like that type of strategy. But as far as creative, the only creative that I got was kind of, I guess, maybe similar to an ovation where we would fix up the property while we were also in partnership with the owners and then flip it and give them a little piece.
Guys, if you listen to that, if you don't know the creative strategy we're talking about, we call it innovation, but you
You
can
know,
call it also a partnership on a fix and flip, right? Let's just say, yeah, the homeowners still own the asset. Now we want to protect ourselves a little bit more, but there's a strategy where you sort of partner with them. You say, hey, listen, I'll bring the capital, I'll bring the cleaners, I'll bring on, the maintenance man. We're going to spruce this place up. I think we can get an extra $40,000 for it. We'll give you 10, we'll take 30, you're better off. And whatever the scenario, the
yeah,
splits would
yeah,
be, guys, it doesn't matter. But okay, so continue
yeah.
on.
I did that for a few years, and one of the investors, I had a moment like Pace had where he was sat down in the back of a pickup truck and told like, "Hey, you're working in the business, or you're kind of like a transaction. You're not exactly in the business itself."
Yeah.
I had one of those moments where dear friends of mine that ended up being almost like family, like a father figure and mother figure. This couple investors where they had sold a giant company, had some cash, but very, very just humble people, wanted me to like succeed. I would find the properties for them. They would get the cash.
Guys, we don't get to hear this much often with, someone who's been in the game and or has seen a little bit of the dirt and the ugliness that honestly a lot of us have heard about. I got to see it. I got to live through it. I did not, get to jump into the game until shortly thereafter. I was buying up the deals that were foreclosed on and the folks that he's talking about. But yeah, I like this as a little treat for me because, Jose, you get to share some experience that we never really get to hear here. Let's talk about now what it looks like for your family.
My fast forward moment was there for 12, 11 years. Those investors told me, hey, you should start saving this cash that we're getting you because you're doing the list side, you're doing the sales side. What are you doing with this cash? You're doing great as far as the bank account, but it's not growing, right? You're just as good as your last transaction. So now I switched the strategy, and for about 8 years, I would bring the cash to renovate, and they would just simply purchase the property cash. And we'd go
Love
50-50 and move forward from there. So I showed that strategy. I did that strategy for quite some time. My dad actually ended up helping me out with renovating properties and things like that. And just the way me and my dad worked as far as the renovations, the list, and things like that over the years, my mom was like, you know what? I think it's time. We've built out the clientele. We've got our like base under us again. Maybe we can open this up. And I had already saved a good amount of money where I was like, we don't have to go rent an office. We can literally buy one ourselves. That was back in 2010. Properties were super cheap.
it. Yeah.
I bought a commercial little house on a main road, and it was cheap. It was cheap. We opened up there. It was like a little attorney office house that we converted to real estate. And yeah, sky's the limit from there. It was all traditional from there, investments, a little mix of everything. And I got tired of it. We're fast forwarding to 2019. Very, very tired of the fix and flip game. 2020, I was approached with the opportunity to leave the traditional side and start fixing up properties for insurance companies. They had seen how I fixed and flipped some properties, and they were like, okay, maybe we could take you on as during COVID. This is like during that time, I'm thinking traditional is not going to really work, so I might as well pivot. So we were getting between $600 to $900 per hour for a fan on a leak in a house. We were getting for drywall work probably quadruple to 5 times what a normal job would get. Those 2 years of COVID, that's what I spent doing. But again,
So that's why our Florida insurance rates are sky high, is because you were charging that. I'm
no, no,
joking.
no, no, no. We
I'm
don't charge
joking.
that.
They were giving it.
What? You definitely take what they give you.
That's right.
You're not
That's
going to
right.
argue. You don't
No,
never argue the price that they give you.
it's such a interesting trajectory. So now you guys are doing the fix and flip strategy. When is it that you get this creative, hey, I got to join a community or I need to level up? Like, was there a moment that you were saying, I need to level up my game? I need a mentor. I need a coach. What is it
Yeah.
that comes
Yeah.
in?
I was getting sick of all of these different strategies that I was doing, and I'm like, I want to join a team. I want to join someone that's actually doing this in scale, not one by one like I was. I was fixing flipping one or two properties every quarter, and that's it's nice. It's good for the bank account, but I'm like, I'm trying to leave something for my daughters, like a real legacy, something big. And I knew I had to get bigger than that. So I decided to leave the traditional side in December 22, leave fix and flip, completely got out of that game. I took 8 months off. And in about August, September, I was kind of like, let me dip back in, but I'm going to go in through multifamily. My ideal game was I can probably squeeze myself into a multifamily deal if I could learn how to underwrite, because I didn't want to use my capital that I wanted to. So I actually met a couple of the Subto leaders, and that was through YouTube. And they just happened to be inside of Subto. So I was with them for some time, learning how to underwrite and things like that. And I did that for about 8, 9 months. In the meantime, I had joined Gator, to be honest with you, because I felt like Subto was an expensive ticket. So I jumped in through Gator. That wasn't my gig. I did a couple deals here and there, but in the end, I wanted to be in the deal itself, and it had to be through Subto so I could understand the contracts and really start getting creative and learning the real creative strategy. So joined Subto September of 22. I ended up leading the Elephant Challenge the summer after that, creating a little team there. Andrew Murray, he's on your team now. He was able to assist me through that. Fantastic guy. He was just a go-getter that was not giving up. He was like,
He is still a go-getter who's not giving up. I love that man so much. So shout out to Andrew Murray. Little shout out in here.
But yeah. Creative was always something that I felt like, okay, I missed out on a big opportunity back in 2010, 2012. What could have been? I could think on that, but not grieve on that. Like, it happened. I learned what I needed to learn. Now I get a second shot at this. I've got a feeling where I don't think the market is going to be such a big disaster like it was before, but it'll be a decent enough hit into the economy, into the market, where I could use these creative strategies and do what I didn't do back then.
All right. So now you join this community, and congratulations. I think you're probably on your 2 year now, right? Your 2 year mark must be this month.
Exactly.
Yeah, so congrats for that. That is an accomplishment, and I'm thankful you're here in this community. And guys, listen, it is an expensive ticket, right? Anytime you go into a community, well, there's no community other than this community, let's be real. But anytime you go into, I guess, a mentorship, it's an investment. You're going to invest in yourself. And there's folks that spend $200,000. I know personally have spent over $200,000 in just mentorships, but they just never really take action on any of them. There's no pressure, but you got to just know that it is an investment, and that's okay. It's the price to pay.
Yeah.
So, Jose, now you're in the community. I think there's someone who you did a deal with or who may have sparked the deal for you, Sebastian, right?
Yeah, Sebastian, great guy. Partnered up with him. He's an owners club, and we've been moving and shaking with a few different deals, and he's got a great network as well as I over the last couple of years, just building relationships.
So where's this next deal?
This one's in St. Cloud. St. Cloud, Florida, just south of Orlando. It's a property that was presented to him because a wholesaler couldn't quite. It was a pocket listing from a realtor. Wholesaler was presented it. Wholesaler's cash numbers didn't work. Wholesaler understands that Sebastian's in Subto and understands creative. And he does, but as my partner, he was like, hey, I know you're in the top tier TC as well. Probably explain the paperwork a little bit more and make everybody understand, really, the agent, the wholesaler, all of these people that are involved, what it takes to get this deal done and get it to the finish line. So that's where I jumped in, made sure everybody was okay with, like, just stand your ground, move to the side a little bit. I've got to talk directly to the owner. I learned that from Pace's old videos, was just like, hey, just make sure you have as little filter as possible.
Yeah.
And it's not to go around anybody. It's not to do anything devious. It's just literally you can't have any filters. You have to be able to speak directly to who's making the decisions.
Good stuff. It gets lost in translation. You're going to explain the recipe to one person. It's the telephone game. And then that person now needs to explain, if they don't know how to do it, they're going to then try to regurgitate that same recipe to another person who does not understand what you're even talking about. You have to do the lesson. So thank you for hitting that. And I love that the agent was well enough known to get out of their own way. And that's the thing right now. Either you're going to get with this program, get with this times, or you're going to get left behind. And a lot of agents they're on the fence, I think. So,
yeah.
All right. Now, we coined this phrase, I think, on this one. So, guys, you're hearing it first. It's a whole flip. It's a creative whole flip. And Jose is going to get into that now. So there's also one last feature I want you to make sure you tell the audience, Jose, about when we talk about compensation. I want to let the audience know how you're getting paid on this deal.
Yeah, so in this deal, there's a little bit of delayed gratification because, like I mentioned, we've got quite a few people that do need to get paid that brought the deal to the forefront. So we've got the seller that needs some funds. We've got the agent. We've got the wholesaler that connected. We've got my partner, Sebastian. And all of this was brought to me thinking I'm going to be the buyer. It's a property from the early 90s. So although I have flipped in the past, this is not exactly what I want to be my first flip coming back in. I got to get my feet wet with a couple different properties before I take on a project like that. So I was just like, no, this isn't going to be for me. So I'm going to need a little bit of a cut too. I mean, I'm putting this whole thing together, looking at the numbers, and I'm just like, wow, we don't want to make this entry fee absurdly high where nobody wants to buy this deal. So I've got to get out of the way and get creative with my little piece that I could basically finagle at. The person that purchased the property ends up working as a cleaner for the builder. So the builder's materials, everything that's left over, he actually can collect for free as part of his gig. So he just happened to be the right buyer coming into the fix and flip game. And he's like, hey, Jose, I know you've done this for quite some time. I know you don't want to take on this project. I don't need you to be a project manager or anything like that, but I would love to just get your insight. What's your advice on this? And on the back end, there's plenty of space. There's a lot of profit to be made on the deal. So I told him, okay, well, I'm just going to secure my interest instead of getting a wholesale fee here at the front and you coming in with so much money plus the renovation. How about you just pay these guys this certain fee at the beginning? You have your renovation money, and then once you fix the property, you can pay me out. So I decided to lock in, instead of a transfer of money, it was just an advisory role for $20,000, and I put myself in second position.
Ooh, so good. So good. Guys, if you didn't hear that, he delayed gratification. Everyone else that got paid on the front end. So, the first transaction, the buyer buys it. And then Jose is saying there's going to be a lien position for my portion, for my cut, my assignment fee, whatever you want, my consultation fee. And he's delaying it and saying, just pay me later. We'll square up later. And that doesn't matter when. You can do it at the end of a fix and flip. You can do it on a refinance. You could do whatever you want. It's creative. But at the end of the day, I think the major point to drive home is that Jose was selfless enough to go, let me get out of the way so everyone else could make money and we can get this deal over the finish line and then we'll get paid later. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
That was my exact email to the title company, funny enough, that they presented the final numbers on the Alta, on the settlement statement. And I saw the figures and I was like, oh, buyer's going to be upset with this one. So let's cut this a bit. And I presented the numbers to the buyer. Buyer was okay with it. And yeah, that's how it all came about in order to do it later on.
Thank you for being a go-giver, and thank you for leading by example and showing people that you can make money in this business. You can connect, you can facilitate, you can pass off a deal. Doesn't mean you're going to get rich off it, guys. You don't have to be greedy, but it means that everyone gets to eat. Everyone gets to eat. Everyone gets to be merry, and that's how it's done. You're getting paid on this deal. It's $20,000 is the, I guess we'll call it the consultant fee.
Yeah, at the end.
Okay, that's great, guys. So $20K, so good. What does it look like now? Like 25, we're going into what? What's the new strategy, or where are we now molting out of one shell into another?
I was wholesaling quite a bit of creative deals, but it got to the point where I felt like the numbers weren't working for Florida because of the taxes and insurance. So I am moving myself from wholesaling creative to now being a buyer. I truly can just kind of get myself out of that role. Obviously, if an opportunity presents itself, I will wholesale it out. But I'd rather purchase these properties, and I feel like now is a good time where if I do happen to get that good interest rate, we're moving into a phase where the prices might go down a bit. So I'll get the best of both worlds.
You're a buyer now. Where are you looking? Is it Florida, Orlando, anywhere in Florida?
I would prefer to stay away from the coast, inner Tampa out to probably Cocoa, all through Central Florida. And I don't mind investing in other areas. I really prefer Blue Ridge, Raleigh in North Carolina, even out in Chattanooga, places like that where I can, it's not going to be a big bank account number right now. It's something that I can just hold, and I'll be able to leave it for my daughter in the future. My daughter's 14 years old, and the whole reason I'm doing this is not for this active income. Active income is nice, but what was the whole purpose of me doing all of this? It was to have something that I could leave behind, and it's for my daughter.
Good stuff.
I've got a plan that I'm thinking in the next 7 to 10 years, she'll be in about her second year of college. She just got into high school right now. So my mind is just on that like 6-year mark here, going out of high school, getting into college, where she can be not set, but at least have a good base.
That's admirable. And you're setting up a foundation. Again, this word's going to come up. It's delayed gratification. The investing is a long game. You could do the short game, wholesale, quick cash. Great. But you're going for the long game. I love that. And you're staying away from essentially Hurricane Alley, may I say. Uh, Jose, bro, you've said it all. How do people get a hold of you if we want to send something from Chattanooga to Orlando?
So my Instagram is at Top FL Realtor. I don't practice my traditional real estate as much as I used to. Honestly, I prefer the creative strategy. So I am much more on the investment side. I will take a look at your deal. I will make sure to see what's the best strategy, number one, for the seller, but then, of course, for anybody else that's taking care of the seller.
Love that.
I prefer pre-foreclosures, any properties that are going to auction. There's a way to save it. I would love to and get a discount on it. I mean, I'm also a TC, I'm a gator, so I know how to position certain loans. I know how to be able to lend. I do have some funds to lend as well. I didn't do it for the active TC income, but I'm one of those control freaks where I need to know the ins and outs of the paperwork and things like that. So I joined Molly and her top tier TC team,
No, they
um,
good.
and
Yeah.
they're great.
Game changers in our business too. We have a gang of TCs with us that are all top tier certified, the whole thing. So you guys, Molly's so good. And guys, thank you so much for listening to Get Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Tumanowski. You can find me at realestatejustin.com or any of the socials. We have episodes going out every day, so be sure to follow us and never miss one. If you have questions, guys, please go to goaskpace.com. If you're a member of Subto Gator Top Tier TC, we'd love to share your story of a closed deal. Please reach out to the wonderful Taya, Taya, at pacemorby.com. Guys, let her know that you're part of the community. Let her know you have a deal. And guys, if you're tired of sitting on the sidelines, I've said it once, I'll say it again. Please, please, please check out the links below. Find out what community aligns with you. Jose has touched most of the communities. He's in Gator, Top Tier, and Subto. I can't say that I am, so I'm a little jealous there. But guys, find out what aligns with you. I'm so thankful to be here. Jose, good job, dog.
Likewise, man, I appreciate the platform you and Pace have provided. This is fantastic. I love it.
Thanks, dog. See you guys later.